RGG Studio unveiled two new games at the Game Awards. How are they doing this? Oh, that explains it. Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio did the unthinkable. Not only did this insane, hardworking studio reveal that they are working on a new Virtua Fighter, they also announced that they are developing a brand new game with a placeholder title called Project Century. But what exactly is Project Century? Is this 10 years in the joint times 10? All we know from the trailer is that it is set in 1915 Japan. It follows a character who is shown to be far more brutal than Kiryu or Yagami. So is this the prequel game that Yakuza fans have been asking for, that will expand on the history of the Tojo clan and its founder Tojo Makoto? Wait, how many Makotos do we have in the Yakuza games? Well, unfortunately, we don't have accurate information as to when the Tojo clan was actually founded, so we cannot be certain that 1915 is the birth year of the Tojo clan, considering that Makoto Tojo's successor took over the clan in 1985. That's around 70 years apart, though that doesn't disprove that this won't be a Tojo Foundation game, given that Yakuza games are known for old but energetic characters. Take Bryce as an example that worked as an assassin in 1953 and is still formidable in Infinite Wealth, and that is also 70 years apart. Additionally, Wong Tu even described Bryce as ageless, retaining his appearance since 1993. Then of course we have the Obatarian Lady, the real final boss in the Like a Dragon series. Therefore, it is not entirely impossible that this guy right here is Makoto Tojo, and we will see the story of how the Tojo clan was formed. But this doesn't delimit the possibility of it being something else entirely, such as a Judgment Ishin game, considering the whole vibes from the trailer, a noir-like film set in the Taisho era. Furthermore, the protagonist does bear a resemblance to Kazuki Kitamura, who played Kiryu in the 2000 movie adaptation of the Yakuza series. Though this is not yet confirmed, but I do find it cool if Kiryu's actor somehow find himself back in the series. And RGG Studio doesn't really shy away from using actors as their protagonists, given the success of their detective noir game that stars Takuya Kimura, who played Yagami. And since we haven't heard any news for a third entry for the Judgment series, then Project Century might be its successor. The only problem here is that there is no way that RGG Studio would just drop the Judgment IP, taking into account its huge achievement both in sales and critical acclaim. While both fan speculation about it being a Tojo Foundation story or a Judgment Ishin are plausible, I believe that Project Century is an entirely new IP that is still set in the Yakuza universe. Project Century is the newest game series by Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio that we will all love. And I'm here to explain what exactly is Project Century. But before that though, if you're excited about this new game from RGG Studio, then Tiger drop this video and join Otaku Define for more Yakuza content. Project Century is RGG Studio's newest IP set in 1915, and that year is the anchor that we will use to determine what the story of this game will be. Given that year, it's pretty telling that Project Century will be set in the Taisho era. It is the period after the famous Meiji Restoration and before the pre-war and post-war Showa era that shaped modern Japan. In fact, the Taisho period is the shortest era of modern Japan, as it ended with Emperor Taisho's death in 1926. This period only lasted for 15 years, and there aren't many popular media that covered this timeline. I actually only know one famous series that took place in Taisho, and that is Kimetsu no Yaiba or Demon Slayer. Most series would focus on either Meiji or Showa, since a lot of far more interesting historical events took place during those time periods, with the Meiji era modernizing Japan, then the Showa era of course covered the events of World War II and its aftermath. Additionally, there had been Yakuza games set during those time periods, with Yakuza 0 being set in 1988 at the end of the Showa era. And while Like a Dragon Ishin took place in the Keio era in 1866, the events of that game led to the Meiji Restoration. So Project Century being set in 1915 tells us that this will be a brand new IP from RGG Studio that will be about something that has never been tackled by other media. Not because it's boring, but the courage it takes to actually talk about it. You see, 1915 is a significant political year in Japan. They are involved in the First World War, siding with the Allied powers. It was also this year where Japan issued 21 demands to China that expanded its control of Chinese territories and economic interests. This move strained Japan's relations with China and raised concerns among Western powers about Japan's intentions in Asia. 1915 was also the year of Emperor Taisho's enthronement that symbolized the continuity of Japanese monarchy. It also held a general election that created a political shift that granted the parliament more influence in governance. Now, RGG Studio doesn't really shy away from political dramas, as they have proven to be one of the few brave media in Japan that will criticize its socio-political problems. We saw it in Yakuza Like a Dragon's discourse of modern politics, even in Ishin with their insight on the shogunate, and of course Lost Judgment's strong take on bullying. So it won't shock me if RGG Studio chooses to direct the narrative of Project Century to be another political drama. And this time it will be about the Taisho democracy. 1915 was also the year for massive growth in Japan's industrialization as a result of their 21 demands, boosting their economic influence. But it was not without problems, since Japan also saw a rise in labor disputes. Workers in different sectors engaged in strikes and protests, demanding better wages and working conditions. And this will be the socio-political theme of Project Century, especially since the MC is a dock worker, proven by his attire. It is a happy, a traditional tube-sleeve Japanese coat, and the kanji at the back of his happy points to it being a dock worker uniform. But Mito stated that the MC might be working for Yashima Trading. Now, I like to point out that I thought this was a fireman uniform at first because of the red accents, making it look similar to what firefighters were at that time in Japan. But thanks to this Redditor for pointing me in the right direction. Anyway, the MC being a dock worker is an important piece that points to what exactly Project Century will be about. And another Redditor commented that it is similar to the story of Harukichi Yamaguchi, the founder of one of the largest and most powerful Yakuza organizations in Japan. Coincidentally, the founding of Yamaguchi-gumi traces back to 1915 in Kobe, Japan. This organization's influence extends beyond its birthplace and became one of the principal clans of the Yakuza world. So the MC for Project Century might tell us the story of Yamaguchi, who is a former dock worker. He initially organized a labor union to manage fellow dock workers of Kobe. His group served as a means to control labor disputes, mediate conflicts, and protect local business. This explains the factory fight scene where the MC might be trying to settle some dispute among the dock workers and business owners. The group later expanded to be more than just a labor union and included more activities such as gambling and protection rackets. Its most important contribution to the culture of Yakuza is that Yamaguchi emphasized discipline and loyalty. He laid the foundation for this stratified structure that would define the main family and its subsidiaries. Yamaguchi-gumi also gave importance to the role of providing order and disaster relief during crisis. In other words, the kind of Yakuza that Kiryu, Ichiban, and others look up to. So Project Century will be about the Yamaguchi-gumi. But color me excited, while RGG Studio hasn't said any info about it aside from what was shown in the Game Awards, one thing is for certain. It will be another banger of a game from the studio that brought us Yakuza Like a Dragon. But how about you guys? Are you eager to tiger drop someone in Project Century? And it's really impressive how RGG Studio is able to develop these amounts of games, and they always look different from one another. Well, that's because they are never afraid to try something new. If you're curious about that, then check this video out. Join Otaku Define for more Like a Dragon content. This is Math, and stay awesome, my kyodais.